Yeah, welcome to another episode of Arts Place Live, conservative talk from a different view. So let's bring up my co-host and cohort, Lloyd Mendenhall.
Hello, Art. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just trying to stay cool. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Glad my apartment is below ground and on the northwest side where it's cooler than the other tenants in the building.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how are you doing? So,
I'm doing good. We talked a little bit before the show. As I didn't even know if I was going to be able to make it today because up till 11 o'clock my time, we didn't have power. It went off. It was
wow.
off for 14 hours. Yeah. Uh, I, I've been talking here, well, probably not in the videos, but they've been uh, laying new sewer line, which goes between my house and my son's house. And they're laying it all the way through, and they've tore it up and everything. But they've got this giant ditch witch that's on tracks, okay, and then it can tilt up and down, and they run an auger down through the ground, hook a pipe, and then just pull it all the way through. You
Oh,
know,
cool.
yeah, it's kind of a neat. Except they ended up having to get a backhoe because they couldn't find out where my sewer line hooked up. But
Huh,
anyways, as I said last night, we had this huge storm. Well, it's in our trash can, which is one of them big poly dumpsters. It's in it just flying, and the wind did because 50, 60 mile an hour winds. But this thing
wow.
sits level and is right on the other side, right behind my driveway. And
Right,
well, it also has a tilt this way and this way. Well, it was sitting level yesterday.
right.
Today, it was raised up in the air at about that much of an angle. That wind caught the front end of that thing and lifted it.
Hmm.
It so I don't know if it'll work tomorrow. It may have busted the pistons that they used to level it with, but yeah. Other than that, everything's been good.
Right.
So
Uh, that's good. Glad that everything's calmed down and you got your power
yes,
back and
yes,
you're able to be with us this afternoon. Just waiting for our first guest, former Congressman Tom Tancredo, will be here
yes.
shortly.
Good. I look forward to visiting with him again because he, yeah, he's been on here before. I remember
Yes,
talking with
he
him.
has.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We
He's
had
always a
him
good guest.
and Thaddeus McCotter, who's from Michigan.
Oh, okay. Are they
He's
both going to be
right
on today
here.
or just one?
Pardon?
Are both of them going to be on today?
No, just Tom
Just
today.
Tom. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, so I hear you had a bit of a mishap yesterday with in the drone
Yes,
world.
I did. Yesterday, after my other show, Art Code Drone Solutions, I had a guest here in my studio yesterday. Sean Oz, he lives up in Dillon, Colorado. He was taking his
Yep.
significant other to the airport and stopped by. And then after the show, we went over to Lake Arbor to fly our drones. And he was going to let me try out the Mavic Air 2. And so we were going to do a comparison between the original Mavic Air, which I have,
Right.
and his, which he has the Mavic Air 2. So
Yeah.
took mine out, went all the way to one end of the lake, and came back. And my return to home was acting kind of goofy, so uh, I turned it over to Sean, and he got confused with altitude and range because evidently they're switched around.
Switched on the Mavic 2.
Yeah,
That's what I figured happened.
and so my Mavic Air is on the bottom of Lake Arbor.
Well, at least it's at a lake named after you, right?
Yeah, and it's only a few minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
So Sean felt really bad about that. So I'm getting his Autel Evo.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's been flown a lot. I mean, he's
Yeah.
flown it some, but he was talking about that on his show earlier or because I missed your show last night because
Right.
uh, actually
You don't do
I
YouTube.
usually, yeah, I try not to. I just, that's the one day of the week that I just don't do anything YouTube related just
Right.
because, you know, uh, it's just I got so many other things that going on most of the time, plus taking care of Judy. It just gets to be, you know, it's sometimes it's overwhelming. And so I decided that Saturdays was the one day of the week that I could spend, just Judy and I watching the show together
Right.
and doing stuff like that. So because all of us are usually on there. Yeah, welcome to Jaybird. He says
Yeah.
quite a
Welcome,
crowd.
Jerry.
Oh, that's what I need to do. Let me share that out. Uh, Let me share this for you on
Okay.
my Twitter feed. That way,
Oh yeah. Share out the link. Yep.
yep. And
So, yeah, I thought that was a really stand up thing for Sean to do to
yeah,
give me his Autel Evo, which has a better camera and it's a little bit bigger than the Mavic Air. So, you know,
yeah.
uh, I think he's going to bring it down tomorrow,
Oh, is
and
he?
talking
Okay.
about going back to the lake. The thing is, they don't allow swimming out there. So I don't know how much we could do other than get another big treble hook with
Right.
a weight on it
Yeah.
and
Snag
just
it
kind of
for
drag
snagging. Yeah.
the bottom to hopefully snag it.
Well, unless somebody happens to have one of those underwater drones and they could
Yeah,
go down and find it and then direct you right to
well,
where it was
that
at.
would be
You know,
good. That
that's
would
an
be,
idea. But
uh huh.
in case Sean should see that at some point, if he has one, uh, he can. Well, the flies are terrible this time of year, especially after rain. So,
Oh,
but
well,
yeah.
Tom is having issues getting into the show.
Uh
Ah,
oh.
oh, maybe okay. What I'll do is I'll ask him to. Okay. Oh, try using Chrome browser. Yeah, there we go. That might take care of his problem to get him
I
on
was.
the show.
By the way, Judy says she feels for you for losing your drone. She
Oh,
understands how
thank
that is.
you, thank you.
But I was I was telling her about it, and she says, "Oh no." I said, and I know I tease you a little bit about your stature, you know, and that you're pretty lucky when it comes to contest, So I
Yeah,
called you the lucky leprechaun. Unfortunately, you're not so lucky a leprechaun when it comes to drones.
yeah, that's true. Oh, and the other thing that was really weird is, I got a new phone, and I'd never flown my Mavic Air with the new phone.
Oh,
So I had to go through all of this junk and end
yep.
up using a different email and putting another because I didn't remember the password. So I just made one up and got it going and had to go through the usual calibrate the compass and all that stuff. And uh,
Yeah, it. As soon as you said that, I thought, yeah, well, that makes a whole lot because Sean's a great flyer. And
yeah,
I couldn't.
yeah,
Yeah, first thing because Mel didn't know when he and I talked earlier today. He said he didn't know why. Uh, he says, "Was it operator? What was it?" And of course
yeah,
it turned
it
out it
was
was operator
definitely
error. But
operator error.
yeah, I feel sorry. Sean won't live that one down for a while.
No, yeah, he knows it too. I uh I was giving him a hard time. I sent him a link. Ken just recently did a video how to fly over water. So I sent him the link to that video.
Ah, yeah. Let me they said can they bring my audio up? So let me
Okay.
bring my gain up on this. Test. There we go. That's better.
So
All right.
hopefully Tom will have his issue taken care of.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he's going to try and do it on a phone. He said, "Can I do it on a phone or
Yeah. Yeah.
PC?" I say either one works.
Right.
I think the last time
Or
we had him, he was on his phone. So,
yeah, I think he was too. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's been a definitely interesting week this last week over politics.
yes, it has.
You
Yes,
know.
it has. And I've been posting a lot of stuff and getting quite a bit of uh,
Why would that
you
be?
know dialogue from either side. Especially when it comes to mass
Right.
and oh, the debates. I don't think we're going to have debates this time around.
Yeah. I don't think the
I don't think the Democrats want to put uh, Joe Biden out there to
yeah. Yeah.
watch him get clobbered by
I've
Trump.
seen, because I was looking at some polls yesterday. I saw some polls earlier that said 97% or 90 some odd percent of the Republicans are supporting Trump now.
Oh, good.
And then I also saw that they were statistically tied right now. But then I
Right.
turn around and see another poll, which is the Rasmussen poll, doesn't say that. So,
Mhm.
which polls do you believe? I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
the only one that counts is the one in November.
that's true.
Yeah.
I just saw a poll the other day that, and they're the most accurate poll. They said that Trump has a 90 plus chance of winning.
Yeah. Who was that?
Oh, I forgot the
Yeah, I
poll.
know. I can't remember which one it was either. I saw one that said the same thing, and that's why. And by the way, I don't know if you've tried it yet, but if you want to get some good, because I know you're on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, but also consider checking out Parler,
Yeah,
Parler.
I'm hearing a lot about that, and
There's
I
a
might go over there. I was on MeWe, but I've been having issues with it. I just can't get
yeah,
on it. Yeah,
yeah, but
but,
I have Parler, and Dan Bonagino's on there,
yeah.
Eric Trump, Donald Trump.
Hmm.
Just about anybody and everybody is on there. I don't know if Sean Hannity's on there or not, but he's. But
But
what about this thing with Tucker Carlson's staff member?
I
You hear
don't know.
about that?
Hold that thought. We're still having issues with Tom.
Okay,
Uh, I'll ask him.
and I'll check the
Have
chat again.
you
Okay. Oh,
on
Love My Drones is there. All right, welcome.
phone last? last
Mike, is it any better than it was? Because I'm pagan now.
uh,
Oh, they're starting to filter in.
okay.
Let's see. It says it's the same.
Oh, okay.
Huh. All right, let me do this. Let me copy this.
I
Go
got
to.
help Tom get
Yeah, go right
walk
ahead.
Tom through it. Copy and paste the link. And should you put it in the Google taskbar?
Oh, yeah, up there in the. Yeah, if he copies and pastes the link, he should just put it up there in the address bar. Oops.
Okay. Hopefully that'll get him going. Ed, love my drones. Welcome, and Mike B, welcome to the show. All right. Just waiting for old man and a drone to show up, and
Yeah.
Steve Carpenter and the
Okay.
other gang. Yeah.
There we go. I just put that the link on for your channel on Parlor.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. It does things a little differently than.
So
Let me
hopefully
go.
Tom will be in soon. Boy.
Okay. For those of you that are interested, I'll put this link. Copy. Yeah, I've got my gain, Mike. My gain is turned up. Hang on a second. I mean, I'm redlining my mic now. Uh, every time I speak, let me. I'll try just a little bit, but I'm already blasting.
Right.
Noise gain. No, that's a noise gate. Wait a minute. Well, let me get to the right one. Yeah,
Well,
that's
let's
it.
see.
All right. So let me raise the gain just a little more. All right. How's that? Ah,
Huh. There, how's that? Hmm? Huh. I've got my mic. Well, I don't have any way to turn up Lloyd's audio. All I could do is turn up my audio because I'm not using vMix and Lloyd is.
yeah. And my stuff, I'm pegging it now. I mean, it's hitting red every
Yeah.
time I talk. So,
So,
let me see. Audio. Yeah, there's nothing I could do. All right. How about this?
oh,
Did
yeah.
that?
Yeah, you sound a little, yeah, hotter. So that's good.
All right. Well, let me turn.
Oh, and let's bring up our special guest all the way from somewhere, probably in Douglas County. I don't know. Let's welcome to the show former congressman from the 6th District, Tom Tancredo.
Hi guys, finally figured out what to do here.
Ah, okay.
Good.
So, how are you doing?
Pretty good, but I am a technotard.
Okay.
It happens.
I have not used this Google Chrome ever, and so it's been a. But anyway, here we are.
All right. Better late than never.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about the events of what's been going on. You know, we have the issues with the mask. Uh, you know, I think we're going way overboard on the mask. The mask really doesn't stop the virus. All it does is it stops people who have a cold from sneezing or coughing. It's
Right.
out, but all us other people, it's not really doing a whole lot. I know over in Japan and over in Asia, everybody wears masks, and the reason they do that is because their populations are so much larger, so you have much more traffic, and traffic kicks up a lot of dust and particulates from tires, and that's what causes a lot of what's in the air, and especially in Beijing, they've got a terrible problem with air pollution.
Yeah.
So that is so. Why they wear masks all the
Right.
time? When people say, "Well, how come they wear masks?" And it's like, well, that's a whole different story. That's not about preventing colds or
Yeah.
flus.
Yeah.
Masks are a farce in dealing with this virus. Unless you have someone come up and kiss you on the lips while you're wearing your mask to try to get through it. I mean, the ability for it to protect you is minimal because the typical mask allows the micron allows the virus to penetrate, um, and no matter what, I mean, it isn't, the masks, generally speaking, are not efficient enough to actually restrict it. And to the extent that you want to wear one all the time like that, you risk another problem, and that is breathing in your own waste, which, of course, is problematic. And so it is mostly virtue signaling. But it's also it is also, I think, in order to keep the population on edge and thinking that the government is taking care of me. The government is helping me survive this horrible, horrible disease. And therefore, I give my life over to the government. I am telling you, I am so disappointed in so much of what has happened in America.
Yeah.
Right.
Not the least of which is how easily we have slipped into serfdom as a nation.
Yeah.
As a civilization, even Western Europe, it's not just the United States, it is Western civilization that has succumbed to this.
Mm-hmm.
And it has done so because the Communist Chinese Party has perpetrated this on the world for whatever reason, whether they created it for the purpose of distributing it as a biological warfare item or not. It was created in a lab. They lied about it. They lied about the human-to-human transmission, and then they sent out emissaries, essentially, hundreds of thousands of Chinese all over the world to infect the rest of the world with it.
Yeah.
And then they are aided and abetted by the deep state, by the George Soros traders in America who are in league with them, the corporations that are in league with them, that are now refusing to stop, buying. By now, you would think to yourself that most corporations, most Americans would say, no, I don't want to buy from China anymore. We can make it here. But you're going to see that there's one thing that overcomes almost all objections that are based on philosophy, and that's money. And if a corporation can make something cheaper, and if we'll buy it, they'll do it, and China will profit, and it will be to our, I think, chagrin, certainly, and possibly our demise. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I used to think, guys, that my kids and my grandkids would be the ones that would have to deal with this, and I prayed for them.
Right.
But I'm telling you, because of what has happened in the world as a result of the technology becoming instantaneous, and information becoming instantaneous, everything is moved into hyperspeed. The change in societies, change in our civilization, the change in everything. It's now moving at speeds that we never thought possible, that societies could possibly change so easily and so quickly. But it's happening, and I think I'll see it. If you and I will all see it, and I dread what is coming to America. And when you see this, family in St. Louis protecting their own property,
and they're arrested.
They're arrested, and the guns are taken. They came to take away their guns yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they're perfectly legal guns, perfectly legal use. Nothing was done illegally with the gun or even in the purchase of the gun. Yet they were able to take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was through Red Flag.
Yeah.
That was all through Red Flag, and we have it here in Colorado. So, what's going to stop the state of Colorado from coming in and say, Tom, we don't think you're stable enough to own guns, so we're going to have to take those away.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm glad I live in Oklahoma where we're constitutional carry and we're rednecks.
Yeah.
You ain't taking our guns.
I'm telling you, you say that, and I hope and pray that you guys will hold the line. But I'm just looking around, and I don't know. It just seems like people are surrendering mentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not physically, mentally surrendering to everything, to watching the monuments being destroyed, to watching our children be indoctrinated, to watching the society crumble, and just watching. And in a way, you feel like, I feel, what am I going to do? Certainly I've got guns, absolutely. But, the days of fighting a revolution with muskets against muskets, long since gone. Our ability to actually control our destiny, even with the use of our own weapons, against a military and or a police state, they're minimal. They're not minimal. They don't even exist. My AR is not going to stop a tank, and
No.
and so you think to yourself, well, will we get the military? Can they be on our side? Will they turn against their own people? And then look at these generals and what they're doing to Trump. Look how they have turned against their own commander in chief while they're still in the military, not even resigned, then complained. No, they're doing, I'm not going to do it. I should not have walked with it. All this crap.
Yeah,
from
I know.
The military that's talking to their commander in chief, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I do not know what would happen. I do not know what would happen if the population rose up.
I've been telling people for at least the last 10 years that even before, they started getting rid of all the generals, and everybody that would have stood against this.
Yeah.
And they've been infiltrating. They've been doing it for probably 30 years or more, at least. They've been the military has been slowly doing this themselves. They've been bringing in people that are more on the deep state liberal side. And I served under Jimmy Carter. I served at the end of Ford and the beginning of Carter's, and all through Jimmy Carter's fiasco. We never once spoke out against him. After I was out, he was the worst president up until the last president.
Right.
But we did not speak out because they would court-martial us into conversation. We could not speak against our commander in chief at that time. I don't know what happened to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, but it obviously isn't effective anymore.
It's like everything else. Every part of our society has been corrupted. The left corrupts everything they touch.
Yes.
Yep.
And they touch the military, and they touch the police, and they touch the school boards, and they touch city councils and county commissioners, and they touch district attorneys. Look at how many district attorneys and lower down the electoral scale.
Right.
We're actually supported by Soros.
I know.
Of millions of dollars. In Colorado, we took, there's an article today in the paper, Art, that says, it's an editorial, I think, in the Post, and it says the far right has been wiped out in Colorado by the last election, in the primary. And in fact, they're pretty much absolutely.
Yeah, I think they are. And that leads into our next discussion, the primaries. And, one side has beaten back the RMGO faction of the party. I go, okay, now what? What's going to happen? I could tell you what's going to happen. those people on the RMGO side, they're either going to stay home or they're going to vote libertarian.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And I think Colorado, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm worried that it's going to be the same old crap. Democrats still keep control of both chambers of the assembly, and hopefully there's going to be movement on some of the state counts, county commissioner races around here that
Right.
might be able to stem the tide, but who knows? I'm just worried that Colorado is sliding down to becoming the next California, and I've seen this happening for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And it all started back when Lamb took over, and what he did, he started putting the mechanisms in that got us to where we are right now. He started putting those liberal judges on the Supreme Court, and same as Romer as well. And then we got Owens, who put one or two conservative judges. They're no longer there now. They went and moved on to other things.
Right.
And so it all started back in 1980 with the redistricting and reapportionment, and that where the Democrats were battling with the Republicans, and they
really, Art, it was 2002 when the Gang of Four.
Yep, that's right.
Came into play and play with, we're talking about Jared Polis and
Bridges, Tim Gill, and Pat Stryker.
Those are the four, and putting in hundreds of millions of dollars for the purpose of creating a state that would accept gay marriage. And so, but they knew that they could not do that just by simply putting it on the ballot. It wouldn't have passed. They had to change the actual political composition of Colorado.
Yep.
And in 2 election cycles, 4 years, we went from 2 U.S. Republican senators, a Republican governor, a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and all 5 of the elected officials at the state level. The Secretary of State, Treasurer, and all Republican. In 2 election cycles, it flipped just up.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, that didn't happen by accident or even by demographic change. It happened by enormous amounts of money, creating 27 different 501c3s, PACs, 501c4s, all of these with a different individual. I mean, it was a brilliant scheme.
Yep.
And was funded with hundreds of millions of dollars, and it changed Colorado completely. And now then on top of that, you have the demographic shift that occurred. And so, Art, we're gone. The state is gone. And I don't know what, you have to begin to think about what's next. Where do you go from here? Well, you fight every step of the way, but I can almost assure you the state will not go for Trump. Then you've got people have been hired to run the Trump campaign who are incompetent, who have never won a race in their lives, and who were anti-Trumpers in 2016. They're chairman of the Trump campaign. How does this happen? How does this happen?
Dave Williams?
Thomas, I swear to God, might be he's a nice guy, but what are his credentials that brought him into the? I always say, because I look around, this happens a lot. All these liberals are hired to, and within our party, where I'm talking about squishy Republican rhinos, are hired to run campaigns. They've never won anything. I always think to myself, they must have submitted their resume by saying, you know what, I've never won a campaign, but that means I'm due.
Yeah. And they also, they're thinking, well, I was a never Trumper, but I've seen where I made my mistake in life. I see that you're the greatest person that ever lived, and I would be glad to run your campaign.
Take your money.
What they're not finishing the sentences into the ground.
Yeah, and take your money doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And they smile and shake your hand and stab you at the back at the same time. Yeah. And,
and plus I'm seeing all the activists in the Republican Party. They're all moving out of California. You know, our friend Margot, she's going to Wyoming. And Catherine, she's in Texas right now. And yeah, I'm getting close to retirement, and I'm looking around. I go, the cost of living is cheaper in Texas.
Yeah.
Tennessee is looking pretty good for me.
Yeah.
I am even considering retiring to the Philippines, where the cost of living is even cheaper there. And I don't have to shovel snow ever again.
That's right. I understand entirely. I know there's an allure to it.
Yeah.
Our kids and grandkids weren't here. Believe me. Well, I don't know. I would try my best to get my wife to go, but I'm not positive. But because where? I mean, that's it. Where to? I mean, we don't know anybody in Tennessee. We don't know anybody in Wyoming. And to go there and just start, brand new life at 75 years old, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, well, it all depends on just, I guess, how bad it gets. And I don't want to be like all of the liberals that go, if Trump's elected, I'm moving, but then they never move. Like,
it would be nice if they just kept their word once.
No, I'd love it. Yeah, wouldn't it be great to have them all, just a picture of them all getting on that plane? Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I'll bet the government would save so much money by shipping them to Canada. They could even send them first class.
Absolutely,
and they still save the nation so much money and all the waste that they do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, guys, well, It's been a nice pitch session.
All right, so now we've got we had the riots and the vandalism, and we still got graffiti at the Capitol, and we're missing a statue right out front, a Union soldier.
Yeah.
And
have you seen the what is it? Civic Center Park?
Oh, Kit Carson. The statue of Kit Carson on
I mean, just have you seen the park?
Right
the side of the Capitol.
There. Yeah,
it's a pigsty. It is a pigsty.
Yep.
Nobody cares about the transmission of COVID there, however.
Yeah.
They're all on top of each other. They live in squalor and filth, and nobody's wearing masks, and nobody cares. Nobody goes into there and says, we're going to fine you, and we're going to. No, it's all fine. I mean, it is a pigsty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're turning into Seattle, San Francisco, and then on top of that, they want open injection sites.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, oh, God,
injections,
crazy.
Yeah,
everything has gone crazy. And
Tulsa, right now, the mayor of Tulsa is the city council is helping draft a mask statute that you have to wear a mask in the city of Tulsa. Yeah. And it's the thing is, we had riots up in Tulsa. It started out as a peaceful protest, but then the BLM group broke off and they started, they blocked the interstate and all, did their usual garbage. And the organizer of the original march went on to a conservative radio talk show and said, we're not part of this. Those people broke away. Were not anybody that was in our group. And we do not condone that, which I think is the first proper thing to do. But Tulsa, Oklahoma has a bad past with race riots.
Oh, I know.
From the 1920s, the Greenwood district. And the city of Tulsa ended up paying reparation to all of the ancestors of the, or the ones that were still alive. I think there was like 6 or 7 of them that were still alive when that happened. And so they've made it a very, we've we've had the past. We've had that bad past in Oklahoma, okay, related to that. And that scarred the whole state, not just because it was, it's called Little Wall Street because those were prominent black businessmen that had really were making something of themselves. Now, would they have survived the crash of 29? Who knows? But they didn't survive the riots of 21. So we'll never know, but they lost their business. So they said, we do not want to stomp on the memories of our ancestors who lost so much. So this will be a peaceful protest. And then those people broke off, and it's just ridiculous that they did that. And but they came out against it. And I think every group that is protesting peacefully should come out against them like that. If the BLM people got in there
wearing protective gear, I say, hey, you get the heck out of here. This is a peaceful protest. We're not having that crap. And that's what they need to do.
And they didn't come out
for the peaceful protest. Hey, that's what this country is about.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. What I don't care about or what I hate is the rioting, the looting, the graffiti, the destruction of property. And that's what really takes me on.
Well, the funny thing is they talked about this. They didn't say much about the march and how is COVID, all this is going to spread COVID. But as soon as Donald Trump says, I'm going to have my first live gathering since, and of course the protesters were all up there, and the one thing of course, we have a pretty level head here in Oklahoma most of the time, and we're redneck a little bit. Okay. Whenever people started getting into arguments, another group would step up and say, nope, you guys go over there, get out of here. You're not part of us. Or if it's the other side starting, I said, you guys out of here. And they took care of themselves, a lot of self-policing that wasn't reported in the news.
Mm-hmm. And then Trump went up to Mount Rushmore last week.
Right.
Gave a really good, concise, clear speech. What does the media do? Oh, it's dark. Oh, he's paying tribute to the Confederacy. And he never once said anything about the Confederacy. I mean, there's where you're getting all your hatred. We've got a media that is spewing. That's why he calls it fake news. And I haven't been watching news for several years because I came to the conclusion it's all bull. We're not getting the facts. All we're getting is opinion. And these people hate Trump, so they're going to say what they're going to say about him. They don't care. And now they're not even hiding their hatred. And I think the American people are seeing it. And I think in November, I think he's going to be reelected. And this comes into another topic, the debates. Do you think there's going to be a debate, Tom?
I don't think that. If I were a betting man, I would bet that Biden isn't the nominee. Although I admit the chances are, the odds are that he will be, but when you look at him, when you watch him, and everybody now recognizes that even the Democrats are admitting that he's got a problem.
Yeah.
Now, if he melts down in any debate, and by the way, that problem he's got, I feel sorry for him. I really do. But it's going to get worse, not better. It's not going to improve, especially with the tension placed on him by a real honest-to-God campaign, big campaign.
Right.
If it is impossible for me to understand how the Democrat Party, knowing what they know about him, will let him on the stage, because right now he's the best thing we've got going for us, I think.
Yeah.
And I think they know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's why they won't let that happen. it will be some sort of health emergency, whatever, even at the convention. I don't know what. And again, the odds are against me, I know. But if they're big enough odds, I might, I'd wager something on it, because I'm telling you, this is the weirdest damn thing I have ever seen in my life. And politically speaking, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. You've got a candidate for president who is incompetent, and it is more and more being understood and recognized by a broader set. Now, for a long time, John Q. Citizen just knew a name, right? Biden. Right. Oh, yeah, I remember he was, the vice president. But as they see a little more of him, and as certainly if these debates were to actually occur, they're going to see it. They're not going to vote for him, even if they hate Trump. Most Americans will not want to put the nuclear button in the hands of a guy who is actually got dementia, and who thinks maybe he pushes the button, launches the missiles, and thinks he's playing a video game.
Yeah, he'll say, "Hey, I'm tired. I need a sandwich. Here, let me call room service."
Yeah.
Well, my thoughts on it.
Back in the 70s, Biden had a brain hemorrhage. Did you remember that?
I was
about that. So I think, people might start bringing that up as well, because that might be a contributing factor to what's going on.
His wife keeps pushing him out there. Sometimes I think of her as wanting to be
First Lady,
Mrs. Wilson, Woodrow Wilson's wife.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Michelle Obama,
and Governor Wallace's wife too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It is so beyond the pale here. It's so bizarre. Everything is so weird anymore. Mm-hmm. And if the polls stay, and if they believe them, if they believe that he can win, they'll shove him. Remember El Cid? You remember the movie El Cid?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, he is trying to save Spain from the marauding Moors, and he dies, but he's the hero. They put him on a horse and put him, strap him in, and then they send him out, and they go out behind him, and they win the day but he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
It's a great movie. Charlton Heston.
That's what I was thinking, is Charlton Heston.
And I think Lauren Bacall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was. Anyway, he dies, and they put him on a horse, and that's what I think of. And I think of Biden. They're gonna stick him on a horse and run him out there and hope to God that he makes it.
I think the real tell is going to be who they pick for his vice presidential running mate.
Sure.
Because they're going to want somebody who's very strong, who's very capable. And if the Democrats look at it and they say, okay, with the right presidential candidate or vice presidential candidate, we can win this.
Yeah.
And as soon as it's over and he's sworn in, within 30 days, he's going to have to be removed.
Have a health issue. A health issue will come up.
Yeah. And they'll, the 25th Amendment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
They'll push the 25th Amendment, say, he has to step down from power, and because of health issues. Then that new vice president, who is now the president, gets to pick another far left vice president. So
yeah, I'm hearing Val Deming, the congresswoman from Florida. She's from Orlando. She's the former police chief there. And I have some friends that live in Florida, and she is a racist, because when she was chief of police, white officers were passed over for promotion. And now her husband is the mayor of Orlando.
Well, That's,
So
yeah,
I call her
not
the
racism. That's restitution. That's
Yeah, yeah.
what they deserve.
Could be
Not
racism.
racism. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
impossible. You rate that black. You can't. I mean, it's just
Well,
nuts.
I say that all the time on my vlogs. It's like, everybody, and I've fired up a few people on one of my opening monologues here a couple of weeks ago, but I probably used the term wrong, but everybody has got a prejudice, you know. I'm prejudiced against young, skinny guys, arch prejudice against tall, skinny guys, you know, and we're all prejudiced against anybody younger than us. But, it's the natural human instinct, it's been around since, Cain and Abel, at some point or another. And even Eve, she wanted to have the wisdom of God, so she ate the apple,
Yeah,
and this guy's been paying for it ever since.
that's
But
right.
anyways,
Well, I grew up in North Denver. Right, my parents were born here in North Denver, so it was an Italian mixed, group community, and both my parents were blue collar workers. My mom worked for Joslin's department store in downtown Denver on 16th and Curtis for 45 years as a clerk. My dad worked at Armour and Company, which was a packing house, till they closed. Then he drove a truck for the rest of his working life. Now I tell you that because they were not sophisticated people. We didn't talk a lot of politics. But I will tell you, in my whole life, I never heard them talk about black people. I never heard them they never used the N-word ever. I never heard it in my house. I never heard it in my school, St. Catherine's Elementary School, which had black people. I never heard the word. I never heard anything about Hispanics. I honest to God, I swear to you, race did not play a role in my life. I never thought about it. It had no effect on me. I'll put it that way. So it didn't matter. I mean, I went to school with those folks, and I ran Elitch Gardens. I went to work at Elitch Gardens amusement park when I was 16, sweeping the park, 85 cents an hour. Well, 11 and a half hours a day, 6 days a week. It was great because I never spent the money. I could just put the check in the bank, $84 after 2 weeks work. It's the most money I'd ever seen in my life. Okay. Yeah. Then I kept coming, and I used to always say you could go up the corporate ladder at Elitch's quickly. All you had to do was come back every summer, right?
Yeah.
So I did, and I just kept coming back. And pretty soon I was a great ride guy. Then I was the ride manager. Then I was the summer manager of Elitch's, and I stayed there for 10 years at that job while it put me through college. And started teaching, and it was a perfect summer job, right?
Yeah.
All right. I hired literally in that course of that time thousands of young kids for those jobs, right?
Right.
Almost all poor, mostly Hispanic because the area was mostly Hispanic.
Yeah.
And some black, but mostly Hispanic kids. Never did the idea of race enter into any decision I ever made. Only when I became older did I recognize that Democrats never think about anything else. I mean, they see everything through the prism of race. I swear to God, I never did. And now everything is judged that way. And so you see people today, and you have to admit, it comes to your mind. You see a black person coming down the street, and now I think things that I never thought before. And you just, I wonder if they're on our side. I wonder if they're going to start a riot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's terrible. I hate that. But look what they have made us into.
Yeah. Yeah. A non-trusting. I tell a story about, it's actually about Elitch's, because I grew up over in Westminster, actually over in the Pearl Mac area, but 76 in Zuni. I almost said Zuni, but that's everybody else pronounced it that way.
I suppose it's Zuni.
Yeah. But growing up, it was Zuni, but
Yeah, no, right. I lived right not too far from Zunai and Street.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so I lived on 46th and Lowell.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
But anyways, the first time Elitch's always gave away tickets for the school kids, you know, each year. Either
Right.
Elitch's or Lakeside. I think they switched up. But this was
Yeah, we didn't give away many tickets.
no, it's probably Lakeside then.
Lakeside gave away many.
But yeah, they were pretty tight. That's probably why they lasted so long. But anyways, I went, you know, they had the kids carousel. I was like, well, I was getting ready to go into first grade, and you know, living over in that part of the neighborhood, there weren't a lot of blacks. If there were any, I didn't notice them. You know, most of our neighborhood was Catholic or Lutheran, Germanic. You know, I didn't realize I grew up in a sectioned neighborhood until I became an adult. And I look back on,
Right.
oh wow, okay. So, anyways, I get on this ride. I'm in the seat by myself, and this man comes up and he asked my folks. He says, "Would you mind if my son shared the extra seat?" Because there were 2-seaters, you know.
Right.
And I said, "Sure, no problem." And it was the carousel or the
Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel. Yeah, that's it. Anyways, as we're coming down, I turned to this kid, and I didn't think anything about it. It was just he was different than me, but he was a neat guy, and you know, we were 6, 7 years old. What do we know?
Right.
And I come down. I said, "I'm a white boy," and he says, "I'm a blue boy," and I just busted up laughing. And our parents heard that. Of course, the boy was black, and both sets of parents looked at each other and says, "Well, they figured it out. Not a problem." And that's just the way it was. We didn't, you know, it wasn't a big thing.
Now, admittedly, growing up in Denver, you know, we didn't grow up in Selma, Alabama, right?
No, exactly.
So they were. I must admit, my senior trip. A bunch of us guys got together and decided we were going to go to the Bahamas and drive to Florida and fly to the Bahamas for, you know, the heck of it. And so we're driving through a place called, I still remember it, Greenville, Georgia.
Yep.
And we stopped at a Dairy Queen. Well, it wasn't a Dairy Queen. It was a Dairy Queen-like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just a family, I guess, ice cream place, but you know, just exactly like a Dairy Queen. The two windows, that kind of ice cream. And I got in the car and I wanted a Dairy Queen, so I walked up. I mean, ice cream. So I walked up. There were 2 windows. One here had like 2 people. One here didn't have anybody. So I went to the one that had nobody, and I just stood there like a jerk. And nobody did, you know. And finally, I poked my head in, and I said, "Hello," like I'm over here. And the guy says to me, you know, he points up, "Look at the sign."
Oh, colored.
Yeah, it said colored only. The first time I ever in my whole life ever saw anything like it. And I said, "Well," I said, is there a middle window?"
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what this, you know, is there an olive window?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the F out of here, you know. I got mad through it. So,
Yeah.
but that is the first time I ever confronted anything like that in my whole life.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it did exist around. It just didn't exist in our little corner of the world. And now,
my wife grew up here in Oklahoma. She said she never saw it, and you know,
hell, I should have been protesting when they were taking down Columbus statues. I should have been out there with all my Dago friends and relatives. How did they even start Columbus Day? It was because how many 50 some Italians got hung in New Orleans.
Yeah.
In some sort of race riot thing. Yes,
Yeah.
It was the first lynchings.
Yeah. Well,
all Italians. It was in New Orleans, and I can't remember what it generated it, but I know that was it. And then, hence, a Columbus Day sort of thing started as a result of all that.
Yeah. It was. We grew up in a time period. Now, I remember when they started busing and the race riots in Denver then. But the funny thing is the biggest part of the race riots were the Hispanics and the blacks.
Oh, yeah. And they didn't want to go.
No, They send blacks into a Hispanic school neighborhood, and boom, they were fighting, and there was riots. I remember all that.
I could go. When I was in Congress, I'd go speak, and to every school that would invite me, because I knew that they were never going to hear the kinds of things I was telling them from their teachers. And I still remember going into East High School. So this was this had to be, it could have been 2000 something, because I was in till 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I went into East High School, and here was a integrated school, had been integrated for 50 years. I don't know how long, since the 40 years anyway, since integration and busing. And it was as segregated as any place you could possibly imagine. The black kids over here sitting at their table, Hispanic over here, the white over here. They're going to the classrooms. All of the upper level classes, white as could be. It was a totally segregated experience. And I still remember looking at that and thinking it was as totally segregated experience.
Yeah. I experienced the same thing. I never had a problem one way or the other. Now I moved to Grand Junction when I was 15, and I graduated from there. But when I went in the service, at that time we had to go to the race relations classes. This was after the race riots and everything with the military in the 60s, or 68, 69, that time period, after Martin Luther King was killed. And there was a lot of troubles then in the military, so everybody had to go to it. Well, I never had a problem anyways, so, but I go into the chow hall one morning, early morning, and all the blacks are sitting over there in one table. There was nowhere for me to sit because it was first breakfast of the day, and I was on night shift getting ready to finish out the shift. I wanted to eat and then go home, or go back to work and then finish out my shift. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I go in there, and the only places to sit was at the black table. So, okay, I get my tray, go over, sit down. I'm eating, and hey, could I have the salt? Excuse me, would you mind passing me the salt? Fine. They were just ignoring me. I reached over and grabbed it, and that's when the trouble started. They got, get your white hands off that salt. Should have asked for it. I said, I did 3 times. I said, are y'all deaf? I know I'm hard of hearing from being on the flight line, but that's no excuse. We all ended up going to race relations again after that, the whole base, because it turned nasty, but it was started.
Maybe you should just ask for pepper.
I should have, that was probably the problem. I didn't ask for pepper, but it was just, I was blown away by it, because I worked with the guys, a lot of these guys, and not the ones at the table, but I worked with a lot of, we didn't have a race problem in the military when we were doing our job. It's when we were kicking back, relaxing, and they, like you said, everybody segregated themselves.
Yeah, they did.
But that's what we were turned into,
right?
By everything that was, they were trying to save their culture. We were trying to save ours, and it's like, it's just sad what it's turned into. I'm like you. It's just.
Well, it is, man. And this Black Lives Matter thing, what a disgrace it is to so many wonderful black leaders, Martin Luther King and others, who talked about the fact that people should be. And I mean, Martin Luther King, he had his problems and warts, and as did everybody, as do we all.
Yeah, it's human.
When he says. Judge me by the content of my character and not by the color of my skin. I mean, that one sentence, that one phrase, that one statement, I guess I should say, was so compelling and so absolutely accurate in terms of how people should react to one another, right? Content of character, not color of skin. And
that's
boy,
true.
that is, they'll tear. I'm surprised they haven't torn down. Let me ask you this. I read something a while back that really, it did intrigue me. Actually, I'm sorry. I was listening. It was a caller that called into Rush Limbaugh show a week ago or so. And he said something that I thought was quite intriguing. He said that he believed that the monuments that were coming down were not coming down simply as a manifestation of hatred of white people. They were coming down as a manifestation of the hatred of individualism, of individuals, because each of these statues are of individuals, and so they're tearing down Frederick Douglass and statues of Union soldiers, and you go, what? Are they just so stupid? Are they just don't know who they are? That's certainly possible considering our school system, but then you look at what Black Lives Matter says they're about. You read their manifesto, and it says, destroy this concept of individualism. It is the collective. It is communism, pure and simple. And so there you are. Things that are there as individuals have to come down because they are tributes to individual people, individualism. Right. I never thought about it, but then I read, this. There was a great. I went back and read Atlas Shrugged. Ayn Rand's great book, and there's a terrific discussion of this very thing. And I thought, my goodness. I mean, I don't know if it's the entire movement, but I can tell you that certainly the leadership of that movement knows exactly what it is that we're talking about here when we say the concept of individualism has got to go. That is absolutely true with them, and that's what those statues represent.
And that's Marxism. That's the well. One of the co-founders, one of the three ladies, they started it in 2013. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was after that kid that was killed by the security guard in Florida. Anyways, Trayvon.
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. That's
by the white Hispanic or the Hispanic white.
Hispanic white. Yeah. Had to have some. Right. Had to be some white blood in there somewhere. That's the only reason he would have killed a black guy. That's their look of it, anyways. But so one of the co-founders, the three ladies that started it as a more movement in Black Lives Matters, she's an avowed socialist. She says, I'm a socialist Democrat, and she's got ties to different socialist groups over her past, and that's their whole thing. We can't be individuals because that's not social. That's individual, and that's exactly why they're like they are, because they were founded by a socialist group, Oh,
absolutely. And what's amazing now is they're open about this. And even Democrats who are elected officials are open about their commitment to socialism and communism and Marxism, as if, well, sure, it's just another ism that I'm connected to, and we always knew that there were plenty of them there,
right?
But subversive, right? They were fellow travelers, but they didn't want to be. They would never want to be. If you called them a communist, he's another one of those guys, sees their commie behind every bush, and hey, now they're talking about it. Now they actually
they hide it. Yeah, they're open about it.
And you go back to what do people know? I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people climbing up on those statues don't know who those people are, don't know anything about them, because, of course, they are followers. They're not the leaders, but they are so stupid because they have gone through public schools and even private schools that use Howard Zinn's book, right? His history of America, People's History of America, he is an avowed communist. Howard Zinn's book is the most used textbook for American history and government in America, and he is an avowed communist. The entire textbook is a hatred of America. We are nothing but bad. Nothing we've done is right or good. We are the blight on the world. And that's what they've had. Even if it isn't from Howard Zinn's textbook, it's from the teachers who then indoctrinate. So you can understand that when you are, it's so easy to remove history when
Yeah.
nobody knows it. Nobody knows what
Right.
it is. You can erase it, and then you do what they did in Russia, right? You erase in the textbooks and or on the pictures of people up on the podium when somebody fell out of favor. They were gone. Somebody
Yeah.
else. Textbooks all changed, right?
Mm.
History
Yeah.
was totally rewritten. So you had no idea what the real history was of
Mm.
Russia if you were a Russian student
Yeah.
going through the system. So it is what they presented in that textbook. And it is exactly the same thing that has happened in the United States.
Exactly.
They are aided then and abetted by a media that just simply supports all of the nonsense, supports all of the hatred, supports all of the revisionist history.
Yeah.
And when you combine those powerful things, look at it's, then we should not be too surprised at where we are, as we have been unfortunately saying over and over again here. We're amazed, but we shouldn't be, because if you think about it, their control of the education system, their control of the media, their control of the political, especially at the low, starting at the lower levels, city council, county commissioner, DA, all these things where they spent millions of dollars over time changing all of those things around. All of a sudden, you're seeing it and thinking, I wasn't watching before, but
Yep.
we were. I just don't think most Americans were.
And this is where I think leadership program of the Rockies has dropped the ball, because the Democrats have a way of recruiting, teaching, and putting people into these positions. Leadership program of the Rockies, which is a good organization, all they do is they have a class and, oh, you graduated. Okay, and that's it. They're not recruiting people. They're not putting people in places of power like city council, uh, even board membership, city boards, that's where you get that. That's the farm club right there. You get people onto those boards, like the housing board, uh, the open space board, parks and rec, those kind of boards. You get those people in, you train them. Okay, you've done that for 2 to 4 years. Okay, now we'll move you up to city council or city manager, uh, mayor, and that's kind of like the food chain of the political system here in Colorado. And we're not doing it on our side. The Democrats are doing that. They're putting everybody in from dog catcher all the way up to governor of the state.
But Art, we need, if we could look at it as a level playing field, and that we could put our candidates up, they put their candidates up, and we could fight it out, we have a chance. But in that article today in the Post, that op-ed by that ultra left-wing guy brought out something that I think was accurate. Every one of the candidates, certainly that I supported at the local level, I did one candidate that I supported who won, and I am absolutely ecstatic about the fact that Lauren Boebert beat Scott Tipton in the 3rd Congressional. I think that is just heaven. It's wonderful. Now they're going to come after her with everything not just the Democrats, the squish ball Republicans want her out too, because she really was the worst thing, their worst nightmare. They never thought it, didn't think it could happen, never saw it coming. But in all of those other races, they listed them in the paper, all the people that lost. Pat Miller, one of my dearest friends, and ran with me when I ran for governor and in the state, just a wonderful, wonderful conservative lady. And they listed them all. There's 4 or 5 that all got beat by double digits. And then they recognized, and then they said what happened. They were outspent 14 to 1. Now, how can we? I mean, God bless the thing you mentioned, the Rockies. What am I trying to say? The
leadership program with
program of the Rockies. God bless them, but you can have people in classrooms all you want and tell them to go out and run, and then they write a letter to a few friends, and we all send them $20, and they all of a sudden you're looking at a campaign against you that looks like it was funded as a presidential campaign.
Yeah.
These incredible brochures, and that is 14-1, guys, 14-1. Oh, where's our side on that? By the way, a chunk of that money came from Republicans. Bob Beaupre, Republicans. These left-wing loonies in our party that are doing everything possible to stop the right wing. They call us the right wing. They're not the left wing. No. They're the moderates, the objective people. And we're all, but they put money in. They put money in against our own Republican candidates in Republican primaries, along with Hillary Clinton's PAC.
Yeah.
14-1.
Well,
yeah,
in a Republican primary.
Yeah.
And this is what really bothers me about Colorado is this big division in the Republican Party here.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to the point where I'm just saying, all right, hey, you go fix it. You guys screwed it up. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm either moving to another state and possibly to another country, and.
Well, a lot of the problem we've got is, as you said, with the education system. That's where it starts first.
Yeah.
But what historically, because it's not taught, history isn't taught. I look at, I watch a lot of British, Australian television. I co-host on I help out on an Australian show on YouTube. And the one thing that I see is unions have always been strong. Once the teachers became union, then the unions have almost always, especially in England and places like that, they've been socialist. The people's workers, and stuff like that. They were socialist. Well, when our educators join these socialist organizations, they're going to teach socialism. And over a period of time after McCarthy, they started working harder and more subversive. They stayed under the radar until the tide was turned, 2-3 generations later. Then they've got these young upcoming people that have been filled for the last 20 years. Their heads have been filled full of socialism. They started, like you said, the school boards. A lot of the people that go to the school boards are socialists. They're voted in by teachers. Oh, that's a great person, because teachers get to vote too, and they get to vote for their own school board.
Right.
It's been going on for so long. And the other thing is the Republicans. It's like I said this last week. We had a primary here, and I got these placards. I must have got 4 to 6 every day in the mail, and it was this guy saying that guy was a cheat and he'd voted badly. This guy, he didn't support Trump at the right time. They were the only two running. They were both saying the other was doing what the other one was doing. And at the end of the day, when that's all done, they've now set up all the groundwork for the Democrats to use everything they said or was used against them. Now the Democrats are going to use it against them. We said, we need to say, this is what I do. These are my thoughts. These are my beliefs. This is what I stand for. I don't care what John Smith over there is running against me did. This is what I will do for this district. This is what I do for this state and for this country. Mm-hmm. We need to quit cutting everybody down in our own party. But until we get rid of people like Mitt Romney, that guy's just a disgrace.
To Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of another republic.
Exactly.
If we stop all of this craziness and work together and say, okay, what is good for the nation, rather than bickering about our party and saying, well, I don't like so-and-so because I don't like his tie, or I don't like so-and-so because he's got funny looking shoes, something like that.
Yeah.
And it just drives
Well,
me crazy.
also,
Well,
it's like Tom said, we've got all these loonies, these leftists that have infiltrated the Republican Party. They're part of the problem. They're the ones, and we really, I hate to say it, but I think all congressional, everybody from the dog catchers up should have an FBI background check before they're even allowed to run. Although they've been bought out now here too. So
yeah, that's it. They say the left has corrupted every single thing they've touched. Gentlemen,
Yeah.
I have to go help my wife prepare for a dinner party we're having tonight, or else I'm going to be.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tom. Thanks for coming in, and we'll definitely bring you back now and then. It's always a treat having you on the show. Thank you.
It's a pleasure for me to join you. Thank you very much.
Always appreciate having you on. I always enjoy conversations.
Likewise.
Well, that was good.
That was a good.
Coming up on an hour and a half, so because we had to, wait for Tom, which is
right.
no problem. And I want to say hello to a few people here: Mike Roach, Steve Carpenter, Rodney Bell, Bill Metro Drones, and Tim Jackson, and Rick Halber, and okay, so we. While you guys were gone, we had a little dust up.
Yeah, I saw that. I was
and
dealing with some of it.
We could have that taken care of. And hey, this is coming from me. If you have an issue with someone in the chat, please don't drag it out here. This is a serious show. What we're talking about has implications that could, shape this country. We're talking about serious stuff, and you guys are bickering about, well, so-and-so said this, so-and-so blocked me, and blah, blah. Hey, if you don't want to be here, don't come here. If you want to be here, keep your differences to yourself. Don't bring that to my show. And I'm the king of this show. Lloyd is my prince, my regent. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say. And let's move on and move forward.
Yeah.
And let's make this a good show. If you like the show, tell people about it. Let's grow this channel. I'm looking at my sub numbers. They're going up little by little each week.
Right.
And
we have a good crowd of people that's starting to come in.
Yeah. So bring great people like Tom Tancredo, and I'm going to try and bring back Thaddeus McCotter and Elena Olkey and several other people.
Was it Trevor Loudon?
Trevor Loudon will bring him back. I definitely want to bring in Lauren Boebert, the Republican candidate for CD3, who Tom just mentioned, and very interesting person. She owns a restaurant in Rifle, Colorado, where all the patrons can, bring their weapons with them, their sidearms. They could come in with their sidearms on their hip if they want to. And that's the kind of place.
Yeah.
She's definitely a Second Amendment person.
Yeah, she's the one that lives in Rifle, right?
For RMGO, for those of you in the chat who don't know what RMGO is, it's Rocky Mountain Gun Owners and they're part of the problem that we have here in Colorado, because they're the faction of the Republican Party that's fighting against the old guard, or what they call the uh, establishment Republicans. And the way I look at it is, wait a minute, now RMGO, they had their people running the Republicans. They're all heads of, they're minority leaders in both houses. So they're running the show, and they're not doing a very good job. They're still in minority. We got to start getting our stuff together and start winning some races and take back the state. Otherwise, you're going to see what I've been seeing for the last several years. Conservative people saying, screw it. The state is not viable for business anymore. We're out of here.
Yeah.
And they're moving.
Texas is man, right now Texas is on the line of becoming another California, because
There's a lot of California. I posted a video on my Facebook page about Texas is the number one destination for Californians that are moving.
Yeah. And it's because they've ruined their own state. Now they're coming to California or Texas to ruin that state. And they're doing, Colorado is the same thing. And this is what they're doing. This is how they're doing it. Is they're moving from state to state and implementing their socialism.
Mm-hmm. Well, here in Colorado, the liberals that moved here, they're from the Midwest or the East Coast. Polis, he's from back east. Michael Brown, our senator, he's from Washington, D.C. John Hickenlooper, he's from Connecticut. Pat Stryker, the billionaire who lives in Fort Collins, is from Michigan. She's the heiress of Stryker Medical.
Right. But like Rick Halber says, all the big states, they're going after the ones in Florida and Texas that have all the electoral votes.
Yep. Well, you're right, Rick. It's all the big states with the big electoral.
Austin, Texas is actually Houston, Texas is probably, they're more liberal, but yeah.
Well, Austin is really liberal.
Where is it that Kelly lives?
Kelly lives in Austin.
In Austin. Okay, so it is Austin. That's right. Yeah.
It's the capital, and it's a college town, too, on top of that.
Yeah. And I think the world of Kelly, but I actually was laughing the other night. We both agreed on a couple of things on Greg's show. And I almost said, oh my God, you're finally turned to the dark side. You're becoming conservative. But I didn't say it. I didn't want to rub it. Yeah, he's an admitted snowflake, but he's very open-minded and very fair-minded. He's certainly not the far left liberal that
foaming at the mouth liberal.
Yeah.
All this hate, because he's such a likable guy, and
he's such a good-hearted person. And I think if you have good in your heart, you can't really follow down that path. Because I have friends that are Democrats, but they're very good, kind-hearted people, and I've even seen some of them start saying that, man, I just cannot follow what the new Democrats are doing.
Yep. And what's going to happen is the new Democratic Party is going to start driving out their old members who are saying, God, what the hell happened to our party?
It's gotten to the point that
like this,
even what do they call it, social or culture canceling. Even some of those are starting to come out. Some of the old guard Democrats are finally realizing, they may actually shut us up too. Maybe we better rethink this. That's where my hope is with 2020 in November.
It always turns that way. Liberals will always eventually eat their own. I mean,
like Mike says.
Remember Animal Farm.
An honest member was fine. Socialist, no. I agree, Mike.
And remember Animal Farm when the old horse was on the trailer and was going, going away, and everybody is, oh, wow, where's he going? And the pig said, oh, don't worry, he's going to a happy place where he's going to be taken care of and live out the rest of his life. And then on the side of the truck it says glue factory.
Yeah. I remember that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they're doing to the moderate Democrats now.
Yeah.
They're sending them all to the glue factory.
Well, that's kind of how I feel with the mask. I think it's just a kind of their experiment. Oh, let's see if we can control people by scaring them into saying you must wear a mask.
Well, I didn't bring that up, but I was talking to my daughter-in-law. Of course, the mask is okay. It's not something she wears them because it's mandatory. But let me put a couple things in place. Went to see the doctor. Judy went to see the doctor this last week. He said, he's got on a mask and he's got on his gloves and his, uniform and all that, and then he's got a face shield on. Well, the face shield fogs up. So he's got to get an attachment to make that so it doesn't fog up. But he says, it's real simple. If my face shield is fogging up, that means this mask isn't working. That means there's moisture of my breath that's going to drop down out of that, so I got to keep it wiped off. Well, that's not preventing it from spreading. And then I told my daughter-in-law, I said, I need to get some more rubber gloves. And she says, no, because whatever your rubber gloves touch, you're going to bring them into your home anyways before you take them off, or you're going to touch something your gloves touched. Use hand sanitizer. Simple. So she can't right now because of her exposure to this stuff. She can't bring us masks. So I ordered a couple, but I ordered one that has a breathing vent. Well, yesterday I was at a store. The gal's got her mask on. She was working there. She had one. She was doing the Michael Jackson glove thing, one hand. I said, that's just spreading it from place to place. She says, oh no, I pump hand sanitizer and wash the glove off. I said, okay. She says, but your mask is because you've got that breathing hole on the side is letting air out. I said, no, actually it's not. I said, it's going through 3 filters before it hits that hole because there's a double face charcoal filter but right behind it. And then behind that is a single cotton material behind that. So my breath, but it's still, as long as it's fogging up my glasses, my breath is getting out. So I don't care what kind you have, whether you've got I have an N95 mask that did the same thing, and these are just as good. They're cloth reusable masks, but and like Tom said, it just, you're breathing your own carbon monoxide back in, they're not. Yeah, exactly. Is that what your O2, you can check that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to do an experiment at work tomorrow when I put the mask on. I'm going to compare my O2 without the mask. And then when I put the mask on. Right now I'm at 89. I hover between 95 and the upper 80s. I know that's low, but that's just how God made me. He made me with hey, let's give him. We ran out of good lungs, so we're going to give you. Okay, we'll give you the oddball size one to fit your little trunk there.
Yeah.
So now I'm up to 91. That's not bad, but
I've
had
bad lungs all my life. I got whooping cough when I was like 4 months old, and it scarred my lungs, and I've had pneumonia so many times. And then I decided
too. So if you could see that,
yeah,
I have a heart. I know.
You do,
tell me I don't have a heart. I go, well, hey, you get to be 60, you're not going to have a heart either.
I didn't know this Apple Watch had a heart rate monitor on it. You know, I didn't really think about it, but I fell asleep the other night with it on. I woke up and my heart rate resting had dropped to 49 three
Ooh.
times during the night. Like, oh,
Wow.
that's not good.
Yeah, well, you got to wear that CPAP.
Yeah, nah. That's like breathing. That's like putting on one of those masks that you have to wear at work. No.
Yeah, but this actually pumps air into you.
Yeah. I've got one, believe it or not. So, hey, Art, I hate to cut a good conversation short, but that cup of coffee.
I get going here. So, hey, thanks, folks, for coming to the show. We had a pretty good crowd today. We're
Absolutely.
And yeah, so it was a treat having Tom. It's always great having him here. And so we'll bring you more good hosts or good hosts. I'm the good host. We'll have you more great guests.
Guest, yeah. You've already got the best co-host and you're the best host. So, you know, what can I say?
So you all have a great evening. And don't forget, Mel's shows later tonight. And then after Mel, we have the Professor Mitch.
Professor Mitch, yeah.
And I'm going to squeeze in some sim time before those shows. So take care, everybody. And if you like the show, you can throw a few bucks into my tip jar. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye. See you, everybody.